was told to deliver this message. I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum. It's your brother Landon X, Sister Shauna Joy X, and we are here with the latest edition of Revolutionary Relationships. The Courtship Process is the current series that we're dealing with, and just like we promised, word is bond, bond is life. We'll give our life before our word shall fail. And we went ahead and we hit. It is Tuesday afternoon. Like I said, we're going to try to do this Tuesday and Sundays. But we are on. We're ready to go. And we're going to continue pretty much where we left off the last time around. But in every episode that we do, especially with a series like Courtship, since the process of courtship as we go about it in the Nation of Islam is a little different from what the world does. We want to make sure that, you know, just in case this is your first episode watching, all of the previous episodes are on our page, Facebook, NationTownTV, as well as our YouTube page. Subscribe to that. But all the previous episodes are on our NationTown page. But starting off, we're going to also hit this kind of hard and fast, given the fact that we went a little bit over. But I do want to start off and encourage everyone that is watching to comment any questions that you have about the courtship process. Please feel free. This is a group effort. This is not us lecturing you on how to court and who to marry and what you need to do. That's not what this is. This is more like an open study group. For those of you in the Nation of Islam, it's similar to our Friday night self-improvement study circles, where we want people to chime in. It's a group effort. It doesn't matter if you're single. It also doesn't matter if you're married. We want that input from our married couples so we can have a greater, I guess you could say, variety of opinions and outlooks on different things. But we're going to go ahead and get started first and foremost. And we're going to start with the definition. Courtship defined as it is in the Nation of Islam, as you see, courtship is the intentional process in which two people formally decide to engage in discovery to find out whether they share enough compatibility characteristics in crucial areas to get engaged and married. And that's the main thing that we're focused on with this particular series, is the courtship process. Also, if this is your first time, your first episode watching, you're probably wondering, who is this big head dude and this lovely sister to his right? Well, I'm your brother. I'm just your brother, Brother Landon X, based out of Los Angeles, California, Muhammad Mosque number 27. And this is Sister Shauna Joy X. We've actually been married for about 37 years. Oh, I mean, my bad. That's what it felt like. No, we've been married for 2 years now, and we were blessed to not only be married for 2 years, but we were blessed to have our beloved Western Regional Student Minister, Abdul Malik Saeed, deliver a fantastic job of officiating our wedding. and also he's been counseling us therein and since then. And so what you're really getting, you're getting kind of a bootleg third-party version of some of the wonderful counseling that he's been giving us. You know, if you want that, you have to be in LA and you have to be here in Mosque 27. You have to be married. But in the meantime, we'll give you a little bootleg stepped-on version of that wonderful counseling that the brother has given us. And by the way, that background that you see right there, that's all real. That's not like a stage backdrop. That is really the Pacific Ocean. It was a beautiful outlook, beautiful day. But, dear family, I just wanted to point that out. And also, as we said in the first 2 episodes, again, and I'm going to repeat it again, this is not, you know, us lecturing you. This is not us trying to say that we're the gold standard. Man, we need answers too. Now, we've already passed the courtship process. So we've already, I guess you could say, graduated from that to this point. So we have a little bit of ground to stand on that, but that's why we invite others that are you know, either going through the courtship process, looking to go into the courtship process, or already married to also chime in, just so we can have that full circle of the gods as far as this topic is concerned. But let me go ahead and start off in the proper fashion, of course, with the salutations in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who mercifully appeared in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact and down to the modern times, and he's at least the messenger of Allah, but in fact, the exalted Christ, if we but understood. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the divine leader, teacher, and guide in our midst, and he's also our last chance at unity, our last chance at salvation, our last chance at knocking this fake ruler of the world off his perch and taking our rightful place as the people of God on this earth and this universe. If we understand in those 3 great names, I greet you in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. And of course, this is my wonderful wife, Sister Shana Joy X. And today we're going to be dealing with, we left off on the courtship comments, and we're going to jump right in on what's page 14 and 15 of the courtship manual. We're not going off of, you know, Islam or Mislam. And what we mean by that, something that tends to happen sometimes in this beautiful lifestyle, not necessarily religion, but lifestyle called Islam, is that brothers get a hold to it and step on it, water it down, you know, for their own convenience, and that essentially makes it Islam. You know, and even sisters try to take it and step on it and graft it and turn it into Mislam. What we're going off of are the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as compiled in this wonderful courtship manual that you see right here to my right, that image right there to my right. So that's what we're going off of. That's the basis that we're going off of. And we're really mimicking something beautiful that we do here at Muhammad Mosque number 27 on Wednesday nights. Our beloved Western Regional Student Minister Abdul Malik Saeed, he's reserved Wednesday nights for restrictive law instruction. But we're not just going off the head, we're actually going off of our green book of restrictive law as our success. So we're doing something similar with the courtship manual. So this is really essentially like a study group. But before we dig into the topic, I'm going to have this lovely lady over here to my right. I forgot her name, but I'm going to have her go ahead and introduce herself and give you all the greetings as well.
Assalamu alaikum. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever. I further bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his exalted Christ and first begotten of the dead, and that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our divine warner, teacher, guide, and Son of God, Jesus, in our midst today. It's in those divine, holy, righteous names that I greet you all again in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. And if we have the video up, I do want to go ahead and again remind you, we are even more so than our Friday NationTown TV live, where we deal with the final call cover story. We want you to chime in, comments, questions. This is a group video. You know, you only see my big head and her beautiful face, but it's a group thing. It's a group thing, so we want people to chime in as well as we go over this topic. Now, going back to that courtship manual, like I said, we're going to jump right into it. We're starting off, if you have a copy, and if you don't have a copy, hit us up on NationTown TV on Facebook, and we'll see about, just hit us up with your email address and we'll email you a copy. This is not some top secret thing that we can't give out. You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that divorce in the Nation of Islam, both registered and unregistered, and just in the Aboriginal family in general, is a matter of national security. So we have to make sure that we're courting right, that we're conducting our marriages right. So this is why this is so important. But I got that tap on my knee, so I think we have a comment or a question from one of our viewers.
Yes, and well, you all came right in, guns blazing. So I want to say assalamu alaikum once again to everyone tuning in. We appreciate you. Man, we're going to start with Brother Sherman. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sherman. This is Mosque number
DJ
27,
Sherman.
Official photographer. I mean,
DJ, photographer,
these
producer.
Awesome, beautiful pictures. So thank you. Brother Sherman says, could you expound on the courtship process in the nation?
Oh, absolutely. You know, in the courtship, in the Nation of Islam, what we don't believe in is what the world calls dating. And that just means, as the minister put it, we played the excerpt in the first episode, you know, just treating each other, especially men treating women, you know, like a smorgasbord, like a buffet or a candy store. You know, I'll take a bite out of this one and a bite out of that one and see which one I like the most, and then, you know, see what I do with that. No, we break courtship and we break marriage down to what it should be, and that's a science. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that in breaking the slave from 1555 to 1619, from breaking the slave, breaking the African god from a African god into a nigger, which was called the slave making process. I call it the niggification process that we went through. In that process, there were three major sciences that were taken from us. That was the science of warfare, that was the science of business, and the science of mating. And by mating, it's not talking about sex, it's talking about the science of the black man and the black woman coming together. You can't have a good slave or a good nigger if he's apt with going to war for himself and his own, maybe going to war for you, but not for himself. He's not a good slave if he knows how to go into business for himself. The only business he should know is how to help you be better with your business as the slave master. And he's also not helpful to you if he's a good father, or if she's a good mother and they raise a strong young child, you know, on your plantation. That means you got a Nat Turner in your backyard. That means you got a Harriet Tubman in the building. You don't need that. So those three sciences were taken from the African god, the so-called African Asiatic god. And, you know, so they would make better niggas and better slaves. So what we're doing, we're getting all of that back. And in my humble opinion, I think we overlook as black people the importance of that science of mating. We talk about economics, we talk about war, what we need to do, how many white people we need to punch in the face, you know, and all this kind of stuff, and we need businesses and all that. But I'm gonna tell you, you can go do all of that. You can go to war with the white man tomorrow. But if you come home to a broken home, the white man got the leg up on you, and he will be victorious in the end. You can go start up 1,000,000 businesses, but if you come home to a broken home, you got a woman that don't give a damn about you, or you don't have a woman at all, or the woman don't have a man at all, the enemy will find a way to come into that and make mischief. So that's what it is. This is essentially the science of mating and recouping that was taken from us in slavery. Was that the Any questions?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay. All praises
That
due
was
to
just
Allah.
the first of many.
Praise
How
you.
our beautiful sister, Pamela K. Muhammad.
Oh,
Assalamu
assalamu
alaikum. Oh,
alaikum.
she's so near and dear. Love you, beloved. She says, ooh, why are some brothers taking 2,000 years to ask for courtship? LOL.
Man.
I'm just saying.
Oh.
I hear you, sis.
Oh, first of all, let me thank Sister Pamela for taking time out of her busy schedule.
That's right.
She's a celebrity. I saw her
That's
at Savior's
right.
Day. I was gonna get a picture, but she had like 30 people around her. I was like, I'm not on that level yet. One of these days, I'll be special enough to get a picture with my sister. But you know, that's a beautiful question, sister. I think, you know, it's something I kind of touched on. We kind of touched on in the last episode. Brothers are psyching themselves out. They're psyching themselves out, and that's because a lot of us still have a part of our mind in this world, and this world is telling us, and sometimes it's the sisters telling us, you gotta have this, you gotta have that, you gotta be this tall, gotta be that short, gotta have this much money, gotta drive this kind of car, gotta own this much property, gotta do this, gotta do that, and they really just psych themselves out. And they kind of, I think a lot of times, I don't want to use the word intimidation, but I'll say this about men, and I might get in trouble for this, and sisters might get, I'd say this about men. A lot of times when sisters think about marriage, not all the time, and I'm not saying this is the only thing y'all think about, but a lot of times when sisters think about marriage, they think a lot about the pageantry of it, the beauty of the wedding, the beauty of just matrimony and what it looks like, and being able to say I'm married and I have a man. That's a major thing to a woman. With most men, when we think marriage, the only thing come to our mind is the brass tacks of marriage, the day-to-day, the everyday, the challenge of it, the struggle of it, being the provider, being the maintainer. That's what we think about, and I've been trying to not use this word, but that causes intimidation with some brothers. I'm not making excuses for the brothers, because the brothers, I tell brothers all the time in the ranks, I adopted the same mentality of our Western Regional Student Minister. And he's always, he made a declaration to his to his staff that's around him, especially even his security staff, that he doesn't want a bunch of single brothers around him. He wants brothers to be stable and married. And I do that with the brothers that I run into in the ranks. I'm a lieutenant in the FOI, and the brothers in my squad, if you soldier with me and you single, especially for extended period of time, I ain't feeling that. I want to see you at least trying to get married. So, sister, it's a situation where a lot of brothers really don't understand the process. That's another reason for this program. And a lot of them are psyching themselves out because they think they got to be Farrakhan just to start the process of courtship. And I think it's something that the brothers could come off of if they really learn what the science of courtship is, and also if the sisters don't make it seem like such a. I mean, it is a major thing, but courtship itself is not marriage. And like I said before, it's not go together. It's not boyfriend, girlfriend. It is a trial, a court proceeding to find out if those two individuals are fit for marriage. And I think it's just a lot of ignorance involved. And I say ignorance, I mean the real definition of that word, which simply means to not know. I think we really don't know what courtship is, and that's why we wanted to start off Revolutionary Relationships with a courtship series, and that's a good segue to remind the believers of why this entire series is called Revolutionary Relationships. It's called Revolutionary Relationships because you can't be a revolutionary. You can't be pro-black. You can't even be woke. You can't be talking about Black Lives Matter if you don't realize how much black marriage matters. That's why I find it interesting. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I find it interesting that some of our people, hollering Black Lives Matter, a lot of men that's hollering that are not even attracted to women, and a lot of women that are hollering that are not even attracted to men. But I ain't gonna go there. But Sister Shauna Joy, I believe you might want to touch on that.
Yes, and beloved, I just want to say, if there's anyone that you feel interested in courtship, and this is not just to my sister Pamela, but just to all sisters. We kind of touched on this previously as well, and the minister himself said, sisters, and it's in the courtship manual, sisters, you can request and put in papers for a brother as well.
That's a good point.
Look, we are God's too, be and it is. So if you have an interest and would like to, see if that this other brother will make a good mate for you, then go ahead, follow through. We know that, and it's a process. So start that process, put the papers in, and begin the courtship process yourself to see if that is the proper mate for yourself.
All praise due to Allah. I completely
take initiative.
I completely agree with that, and that's in this courtship manual. And it was asked of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in one of his question and answers on the courtship process. And he made it clear, there's nothing against what we believe that restricts a woman. Now, I know sisters want to be old-fashioned to that degree. Like I said in the first episode, sometimes we cherry pick when we want to be old-fashioned. If a man say, I'm the man in the house, you gonna do what I say do. And a brother shouldn't come at it with that spirit, but that's an old-fashioned way of going at things. And a sister be quick to say, nigga, who you think you are? Okay, so if you're gonna be old-fashioned across the board. But I do encourage sisters to, hey, be upfront. And that's another thing, and that's what I said, goes back to the real definition of ignorance. A lot of brothers don't even know. A lot of brothers don't even know that a certain sister is even viewing him like that. Cause sisters, y'all great actors sometimes. Y'all go about y'all day and y'all don't. Us, we terrible at it. When we like a sister or interested in a sister, I don't care, Nation of Islam, not Nation of Islam, whatever the case, it's so obvious, and sometimes it's even corny how thirsty we be sometimes. But a sister can hide her thirst. Sisters hide her thirst, but sisters sometimes, it's okay to obey your thirst, like Sprite say, and show it a little bit, and just make it. We not condoning flirting. We don't do flirting in the Nation of Islam, and flirting is not a good look, no matter what your your lifestyle is. But just if you come off. Listen, I ain't gotta tell sisters how to do it. Y'all know how to do it. Y'all got y'all own way of making it clear without being overly flirtatious. Or mannish, as old school brothers and sisters call it. But just make it clear that that you at least acknowledge the brother's existence. Sometimes y'all will be 100% attracted to a brother and then act like he ain't even there. When he walk past you, you turn into Stevie Wonder with it. Don't do that. Don't be like that. Just talk to your lieutenant. Let them know that you're interested in that brother. Just so you can find out. It might be something really going on with that brother, and he's just not ready for courtship. You might find out the brother just lost somebody in his family. He might be really going through a hardcore economic struggle. He might really be, struggling with his Islam. You don't want to jump into that burning house, So it could be all kind of things, but that's what courtship is for, to find out what's really going on with a person. And that's for brothers too. That sister, she might look cute in her garment on Sundays, and when you see her on Wednesdays or Fridays. But man, it could be straight war going on up under that headpiece. You never know. But that's what courtship is for, to find those things out. And you find that out through taking the initiative. Any other questions?
We have a few comments. I just want to say Assalamu alaikum, Sister Tammy X. Thank you for always supporting us and your beautiful spirit.
That part.
Yes. Where'd they go? Okay, Brother Daniel, top fan, Brother Daniel E. Muhammad says, good teaching. And we have Koli Muhammad, a woman knows who she would love to give heaven to and peace of mind to.
That's
LOL.
Right. That's real. That's real. That's real.
Yes.
All praise is due to Allah. But as I promised, we're gonna give you a glimpse of the parts of the courtship manual that we're gonna cover. That's not quite it. Let me see if I can find it. I think that might be okay. Well, that's a part of it. But what we're dealing with is number 3 on page 14, where it says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that agreement It's the basis of love. The courting period shouldn't take years. But how long it takes depends on the quality of communication. For those who have an idea of what they want in a mate, they can come to a decision more rapidly. For others, it may take longer. Much of this depends on how well each really knows their self. Can one be true to others while ignorant of self? That's a good question right there. Can one be true to others while ignorant of self? So that's something that the courtship manual touches on, and it goes back to the study group that I mentioned on Friday nights, that self-improvement. I think a lot of times we get into, even in the world, our brothers and sisters that are still in the world, when they go into the so-called dating world, it's always about what other people are doing. What does this man have? What is his situation? What's his thinking? And then the brothers, we the same way. What's going on with her? What's this with her? What about yourself? And a lot of times we lie to ourselves and say, oh, I'm not going to court, I'm not going to date, I'm working on myself. And you really ain't working on yourself. You ain't doing a damn thing. You just Netflixing and chilling by yourself, but you ain't really working on yourself. A lot of us don't even see our faults. We don't even see our faults. We see everybody else's faults, but we don't see other people's faults. So that's an important part. We're going to touch on that a little bit more in a moment. Do we have another question or comment? Okay, all praise is due to Allah. But another thing that I wanted to touch on with that, how well do you know yourself and being ignorant of self? Now, this is a major key and a major topic and a major hindrance to proper courtship, or even the amount of courtship. And it goes into my sister Pamela's question about brothers dragging their feet on initiating courtship, because a lot of us are just ignorant of self, or we scared of self. Because it's hard. It's easy for us to say what's wrong with that brother, that sister, what's wrong with Minister so-and-so, Captain so-and-so, Lieutenant so-and-so. But when it comes to us, we get real shy. We get real shy, we get real dumb, we get real blind, we get real deaf when it comes to dealing with self. And two major hindrances come up in my mind when it comes to us being able to deal with the hindrance of taking the initiative in the courtship process and just contributing to it. One, bitterness. Bitterness. We all have, if you're grown, if you're over the age of at least 21, you've had prior relationships on whatever level. And obviously, if you're still single, that means they didn't work out. So a lot of us harbor bitterness. We harbor bitterness, and somebody lied to us. I think I know who that somebody is. They look like, the palm of your hand, not the outside of your hand, but the inside of your hand. But somebody lied to us as black people and told us that we can build a nation, we can be successful, we can be happy, we can be productive without each other. That the black man can do all of that without the black woman, and the black woman can do all that without the black man. In fact, we brag about that. You'll hear black men say, man, I don't need no, and the most savage brothers will call our sisters female dogs. And you have sisters who will say the same thing. I don't need no man. I don't need no nigga. I don't need this, that, and the third. And that comes from this world teaching us that we don't need each other. And that's exactly what the enemy wants. He wants us to think that. So we get bitter. I notice a lot of bitterness sometimes, even among believers. Just the idea of the opposite sex. I ain't gonna get into some of the stuff that I've seen and heard, but and that goes back to the generalizations that I mentioned in the first episode, where we generalize people based on their affiliation. Sometimes as silly as their height, sometimes as silly as their skin tone, sometimes as silly as how much education, how much money you think they have. But we get into these generalizations and we get bitter. Another issue that hinders us is that we're always looking into, like I said earlier, the issue with the other side and not the issue with self. And it turns into what this thing, this creature that the white man invented called battle of the sexes. Battle of the sexes. And I'm going to bring up an image to really belabor that point. But with the battle of the sexes, you hear this a lot. You see this a lot. I see it on Facebook. I see it on social media. It's not something that's natural to the Aboriginal man. It's not natural. It's not natural for a man to harbor ill feelings that deep toward toward a black woman, and vice versa, for a black woman to harbor feelings like that toward a black man. And really, it's technically and quite clearly homosexual. It's homosexual. It's homosexual for a man to blame all his problems or his reason for not having happiness on the black woman. It's homosexual for a black woman to do the same thing. And I'm not putting nobody down. I'm just saying that just sounds strange. It sounds weird. You know, that when your face curls up every time the opposite sex is brought up, and then you start pointing the fingers and criticizing. You know, we're taught in the Nation of Islam to settle on the best part. And I'm going to get a little bit deeper in that, but I think we have a question or a comment. But we're going to deal with this battle of the sexes issue, absolutely. But I believe we do have a comment or question, Sister Sana.
Excuse me. Yes, we have a few. Good thing I took a picture of them, because I lost them. So we have a couple of questions. We have Sister Alita.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. We have Sister Alita Champagne. Thank you for tuning in, beloved. We appreciate your question and your time. She says, are there requirements for eligibility for courtship?
That's a great question, and we're going to get into that through the courtship manual, but I'll give you that answer. In the Nation of Islam, if you're a registered member of the Nation of Islam, the only way that your courtship request can be legally hindered by a third party, meaning somebody else can say, no, this courtship can't happen, is if you're not a believer in good standing. In good standing, it's a lot of different parameters to that, meaning that you come to the mosque on a regular basis. It doesn't mean you come every day. It just means that you're in good standing. You haven't been put out the mosque. You're not on what we call F time for breaking any of our restrictive laws like fornication, adultery, intoxicants and things like that. It's a lot of different ways where you can be put out of the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam, let me be clear, it's not just some religious organization. It's essentially a military structure. It's a lifestyle. It's a nation within a nation. And as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, it's a world. But it's rooted in a military structure. There are things even in the white man's military that can get you a dishonorable discharge, or you can get, court-martial. And we have similar things in the Nation of Islam with the FOI and the MGT. And if a brother or sister is going through that process, they cannot legally go through a courtship process. But it's not a situation where, we all grown. We all grown. If you submit to Allah and you are real about this nation building thing, then you follow that path and you follow that structure. If you're not serious about it, then do what you want to do. But from a legal standpoint in the Nation of Islam, we have our laws. When we say nation, that ain't just a word we play with. Right. Just like America has its laws. There's certain stuff you just can't do in America. And that's really, those are only two worlds that really exist for the Aboriginal man. The Nation of Islam and this world. The white man's world. That's it. And the white man's world has plenty of laws. You can say, well, I'm not a religious person. I can't get with all that religion. But, when you go into the world, they have their laws. They make you go get a wedding license. They make you go get the certificate. They make you go, they used to make you do the blood test. They make you do all these strange things and you don't even question it because it's the white man's world, and you just yazzle balls, yassam massa, and you go ahead and do it. But in the Nation of Islam, we have our laws too. So that's really the only thing that could keep you. And of course, of course, if you are already married and you try to put in a courtship request, you go ahead. That's a
Or separated.
you know, or which means you're married.
Yeah.
So in the Nation of Islam, you know, it's a big myth that, you know, the brothers, we all got 9, 10 wives. No, as it says in the Holy Quran, one is better for you. And in our laws, brothers cannot have more than one wife. Sisters cannot have more than one husband. So those are only two things that can get your courtship hindered. And that's another thing that we might touch on. There's some believers, a small percentage of believers, but they're very vocal, especially on social media, seem to believe that there's a culture of people hindering courtships, you know, whether it be officers or laborers, or whatever the case may be. And we may get enough time to touch on that, but it's not as serious as people think it is. Maybe it is. I just haven't experienced myself, but I think we have a question or a comment.
Yes, another beautiful question from Sister Pamela K. Muhammad. She says, how important is physical attraction versus economic attraction in courtship?
Versus, you know, I don't think it would be wise to put either one of those against each other, because both of them, if you think about it, are fleeting. A brother or sister's economic situation can change. It can change for the better, it can change for the worse. Their physical situation can change. It can change for the better, it can change for the worse. That brother or sister, you think that brother's so handsome? You know, you might want to find a picture of his daddy. You know, he might, you know, watch how he eat. You know, watch how he take care of himself. Or he might stop taking care of himself. He might work out 8 times a week now, but you know, what's going to happen when he get that woman that he wants? Same thing with the sister. She might be, you know, a cover girl today, but no telling what she going to look like after a few babies come popping out. So I think you don't want to put those two things against each other. It's nothing wrong with considering those two topics. You should put all of that on the table. Courtship. So that's Exhibit A and Exhibit B. There should also be Exhibit C, D, E, F, G, all the way down to Z. But you could say that, how attracted are you to that person? You know, do they meet what your attraction level is? And also, their financial situation, it can be deceptive, but it can give you some information about their current state of mind. You know, and what I mean by it could be deceptive, for example, if you see a brother driving in a brand new Mercedes Benz, if you just look at that like, oh, that brother's doing it, he got a Benz, but you don't really know how he went about getting that Benz. You know, his mama probably co-signed on it. You know, his uncle probably co-signed on it. You know, he might just have a good job because, you know, he's employed by his family member. Then when that family member goes bankrupt, you know, that ripple effect is going to hit him. So always look deeper. You know, beauty is deeper, is more than skin deep, but also finances are. So I wouldn't put those two against each other and say one is more important than the other. You want to be with somebody that you're physically attracted to. You want to be with somebody that doesn't appear to be in a financial situation that would be very uncomfortable, because that can put a lot of stress on a relationship. That can put a lot of stress on that can put a lot of stress on a friendship. If you got a friend and every time you see them they ask you for money, man, I don't care how tight y'all are being. You probably been knowing that person since the 3rd grade. You gonna stop messing with them if every time you see them they complaining about their financial situation or they hitting you up for money. So those are two important topics. I just wouldn't put them against each other.
Yes, and I completely agree. You know, when it comes to the physical, like my husband stated, you know, that's something that's fleeting. But also, you know, you may initially be attracted to somebody just physically, and then you get to know them on a deeper, more mental and spiritual level. And, you know, they may not, you know, be looked that cute to you at first, and then you get to know them, and that really attracts you to them. But also, you know, when it comes to the economics, you know, we're taught that we don't hold any stake in this dollar. We use it for what we need to use it for now, but like the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, one day there will come a time where you'll walk outside and people will be lighting cigars with $100 bills, you know. So, you know, that's we don't put too much stake in the dollar, and because we know where it's going. But you do, like the minister says, romance without finance is a nuisance. You want someone who is financially stable. So that's something that you can actually be able to look more into tangibly, you know, throughout the courtship process. Look, show me receipts. Let me see that bank account. You know, how much money you have in savings. So, because you need to know if this person is financially stable to be able to take on another individual, and where you want to project your family to go with however many children, or, you know, whatever else other goals that you have for the future. But as far as, you know, pitting those two together, you know, I don't think that would be a very good concept. You definitely want someone who is attractive to your eye, you know, and you definitely want someone who can sustain yourself and sustain a family as well. But I think that's an excellent question, sister.
And I think my wife hit it on the head. She said the way she phrased that, someone who can sustain themselves. So if you see a brother or even a sister who appears to be in a decent condition financially, then that could let you know that they are capable. Don't just automatically think that, you know, it's going to be like that forever. But it definitely brings solace when you know that that's something that they're capable of doing. With that said, we're going to keep it going, dear family. We're going to take a quick moment. Keep hitting us with your questions, comments. We're going to take a quick moment, quick break, but keep hitting us with your questions. Keep hitting us with your comments. We're going to jump right on those. As soon as we come back, we're going to take a very brief break, and from our sponsors here at NationTownTV. But we're going to keep it going, and we're also going to go deeper into this courtship manual. We're going to go to number 4, because it deals with a topic that we were questioning on, I believe, last episode, maybe the first episode. So we'll be right back, family. And we back. Like we have a hard-hitting question that we ran into while we were on our break. Sister Shauna Joy hit us with that question.
Yes, sir. This is Sister Denise Renee Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, beloved. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate this question. This is awesome. She said, should a sister accept a courtship if she is struggling financially?
I'll let you jump on that one first.
Okay, yes, sir. So I'm going to actually start with the minister's words himself. And we talked about this last time. The minister said that you should not go into courtship until you've been financially stable and on your own yourself for at least 3 years. And a lot of times when we think about the financial end, sometimes we may lean more on the brother because we do know that that is his role to be the provider. But sisters, we definitely do want to make sure that we are also financially stable as well, because for one, you do not want to have the leading factor of a courtship to be, you know, he can take the burden off of me. You know, you do not want that, because the main factor in marriage, the main motivation for marriage is that we're looking for our minds to be aligned. You know, we're looking for someone that we can have a strong union with, so that we can grow as one, and then to become into oneness with Allah. And if we know that we're coming into courtship with not just a financial burden, but any type of burden, we have any type of mental, spiritual burdens, economic burdens, that can be a hindrance, because we can be looking at this other person as to be a savior for that, when we need to be able to look into self, and we need to look to Allah to be the one to get us out of this situation. You know, so I feel as though that if we are in a bad situation financially, and also you don't want to take someone else down. If you're in a bad situation financially, you want to take the time to get yourself up and going, whereas you can sustain yourself. Okay, so that when you all come in, because this brother is supposed to be in a financially sustainable, he's supposed to be able to sustain himself as well. So you come in equally yoked on that aspect, and then no one is a burden on the other financially, because especially going into a marriage with financial distress, that can be very, very trying on that relationship.
Absolutely. And there's another aspect of the rules of courtship that this brings to mind. Brothers, especially brothers, you know, who like to, you know, who are capable financially. We're actually not supposed to exchange gifts, exchange any kind of gifts, you know, beyond paying for any courtship outings. I don't want to call them dates, but if you go out, you know, with your court mate, the brother absolutely should foot the bill. He should also take care of the chaperone.
That's
and
right.
We still gonna touch on that chaperone part. But we're not supposed to, okay, sister need her bills paid. No, sir, brother. You know, she need a new stove. No, sir, brother. She need a new TV. You know, baby need new shoes. No, sir, brother. She come to you like that, take very careful note of that she came at you like that in the courtship. You know, do not, or if the brother, that's real talk. There have been instances of that. You know, it happens, especially in this dispensation. You know, brothers might go to a sister and say, hey, let me hold, you know, whatever, you know, to the first. Don't do it. It's, you know, it just keeps, just like you refrain from sex to keep from being intoxicated in this process, the financial situation can intoxicate too. If the woman is in dire straits and she's courting a man who seems to be very economically comfortable, she's intoxicated by that, and she'll agree to marriage. She'll say, she'll say yes when he proposes, and she'll even agree to the courtship itself, because she thinks this man has a certain financial ability about him. And she's only thinking about that phone bill that's due. She's only thinking about, you know, her baby's, you know, milk and food and putting shoes on her baby's feet. And she's not thinking, is this man the right man between his ears? Not just his pocketbook. And that's a complex place as well to discover and to go into. But you can be intoxicated. Don't be intoxicated about something that can be fleeting. Do not get intoxicated by it. And that's why we're against sex during the courtship, and we're against exchanging money, unnecessary amounts of money and gifts. Really no gifts, no money directly, just the brother will take care of any outings that the two will go on. I think we have another question.
Man, you all are getting it today.
All praise is due to Allah.
Sister Marielle, she says, ooh, should a sister go into courtship if the sister makes more money than the brother? Man, that's a beautiful question. I'm glad you brought that up, especially since we're on the topic of finances. And my husband kind of alluded to this, you know, in the world that we're living in, that this devil has set up, the systems that this devil has set up, you may, more than likely, mostly, come into that situation often, because we're living in a world where the devil has intentionally raised the black woman to higher elevations of stature in the workplace, in the world, so that they are flipping the natural roles of the man, the black man and the black woman, and they're lowering the man so that, you know, they're making it hard for him to find a job. But you'll find us working downtown right underneath, just like in slavery times, doing the bidding. And, you know, the brother is, you know, scrounging. He in that same office building downtown, he's working as the janitor. And these are the systems that have been set in place. So I would not say no, do not go into courtship if you you know, are in courtship with if a brother that's interested in you is making less money than you. I wouldn't say that. I would say look at the whole of his financial situation. You know, also gauge where you are at as well, and what you all would actually have to do some talking and to see, you know, okay, what's your trajectory? You know, if he's in a situation where, you know, he's working a job, his bills are in check, he has everything that he needs to sustain himself, he has a savings, he has a plan for the future, you know, but you just, you know, happen to be working a job and you making $120,000 and he's making $60,000, but he's still stable, you know, and if you have a lifestyle that you must maintain, and you're like, hey, that's something that you all are going to maybe at odds about, and that, you know, depending on where this brother is and so many other factors, you know, you may err against, but you won't know until you actually go into courtship. We don't want to base the whole courtship on someone's financial state. Courtship doesn't mean, okay, if I accept these papers, we're automatically getting married. No, we're laying out the evidence to see if there is mutual ground, understanding, and compatibility in key areas. So go ahead into that courtship and look at all the evidence. You know, if this is a brother that's like, you know, I want you to stay home, the home is your base and not your place, and I feel better if I can keep you in the home and I work, and you're like, you're not making enough money to sustain the lifestyle that I'm living, you know, then you all may have some problems. He might say, I have a 3-year plan, beloved, and this is what I've been putting into steps so that at the end of this 3-year plan, I'm going to be making twice as much, and I will be able to sustain your lifestyle. And you like, okay. And if you're ready to grind it out with that brother, because whether you're grinding it out financially, you're going to be grinding it out no matter what marriage in some type of way. So if you're willing to take that grind with that brother and make that happen, then may God be with you, and it probably, you know, be a beautiful thing at the end that you all were able to do that. So don't turn down, long story short, don't turn down the courtship just based off of financials. There's more things that need to be seen and talked about and analyzed.
Absolutely. All praises due to Allah. My response to that, and these are responses, these aren't answers. Like I said, we're not coming at this like we're the all-knowing, because if you relying on us for your counsel, you in bad shape already. I guarantee your courtship is gonna fail. Your marriage, no, I'm just playing. But this is a cipher. Right. This is a cyber cipher. This is a Facebook cipher. But let me say this, sister. First of all, we're gonna deal with actual facts of how Muslims perceive marriage, whether or not you're a Muslim or not. But the way Muslims perceive marriage, and this is something that I know the sisters are gonna like. In a marriage, a woman is allowed to produce for herself. She's allowed to work. She's allowed to make money. In fact, in a Muslim marriage, every dime, every penny that the woman produces on her own is hers. If she wants to contribute to the household expenses and the necessaries of the household, that's entirely up to her. Now, of course, a good woman, she ain't gonna sit up there and watch her baby starve while she walking around with a Gucci bag, or, you know, she ain't gonna let the lights go out while she walking around with red bottom shoes. But according to Islam, it's not incumbent on her to have to take care of the household bills. It's up to the man. So, sister, if you're in good shape financially, you still should approach the courtship like a sister who's probably just in school, or a sister who completely intends on just being a homemaker. You should approach it that exact same way, because your money, by the rules of Islam, is still your money. Now, in this day and age, it almost absolutely takes two household incomes in order to sustain yourself. But it's not a situation where a sister has to contribute. So cover that first and foremost. A couple of other points. Again, for a sister that is in a situation where you're more financially viable and able than the man, I want the sisters to pay attention. And I want the men to pay attention if you're the one in this situation. If you're a sister, if you're the one that comes to the table and you appear to have the best situation financially, pay attention to the brother, because it's a different type of brother out there these days. I'm not necessarily talking about FOI. I'm just talking about black men, the enemy that's done a number on us. So it's brothers out there looking for a free ride these days. I hate to say it. It just tastes nasty just coming off my lips, but it's real. So, sister, if you're doing very well, be careful. There's some brothers out there looking for free rides, but at the same time, you should be approaching it with the same mind as a sister who's just in school or who is not doing well. You want to make sure that that brother is prepared to be either the majority or the primary contributor to household expenses. And I gotta touch on this point when it comes to, like my wife said, the flipping and the reversal of the roles. Am I the only one, and y'all can comment on this, am I the only one that has noticed an uptick just in your respective cities, just on television, advertisements? Have you noticed an uptick in interracial relationships, particularly between the black woman and white men? Have you noticed that?
Sure.
That is by design, because a lot of sisters find themselves in the man's position financially. They find themselves in the man's position, so they start to think like a man, and they think like, oh, okay, since I make a certain amount of money, I need a man who's on my level. That's something you actually hear sisters say. And they go from this brother to that brother, and actually one of the most employed black men in the market today, most of them are homosexual. So a lot of sisters find themselves working with homosexual black men, so they think there are no men. And when they try to say, okay, let me go find a man in some other aspect, and the man doesn't have what they have, they think, oh, he's not on my level. So who does that leave them to deal with? That leaves them with their white boss, with their white heterosexual or so-called heterosexual co-worker. And then they find themselves dating in that realm, thinking that they have to because they've taken on the mind of a man because of their finances. Sister, don't let your finances change your mind. Still be a woman, still, and by the rules of Islam, you allowed to have all your money and keep it to yourself. So don't judge it off of that. And if a sister is only in this world, like my wife said, if you're looking for somebody that's your financial equal, dollar for dollar, you're gonna have a hard time with the black man, because we have been castrated and beaten down in more ways than one, and for a reason. Kill the male, spare the female. That's throughout the scripture, and it's like that for a reason.
And I want to close out this question with just a few more, just two more things. If you do choose to go into courtship with a brother and that leads to marriage, and you're making more and you're more financially stable, making more money than him, please do not cut this brother down with your tongue, sisters, and throw that in his face and act some type of way and emasculate the brother for being in a situation where he is not making more money. That's something that the minister really speaks heavily on, especially if you don't have a brother that's just freeloading off you. Hey, he's working, he's striving, he's doing his thing, he has a plan in place. So just be mindful of that. And also, a brother brought up a very good point, Brother D-Ron Salam. He said, was not Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, wife Khadijah,
Good
rich
point.
and he was of meager ends?
That's a great point,
That's a
brother
great point.
Deron. That's a great point. We actually, I think we talked about that in that the first episode. That Khadijah, she was actually very wealthy, and she assisted Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with his propagation of the faith, because he was a merchant himself, but he was compared to Khadijah, he was like a shoe salesman, and she was like a Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike. She was balling. So their minds aligned perfectly because he had that hand-to-hand sales skill, and she just had the wealth. She had the capital, and so they worked together quite well, and that was very vital in the spread of Islam in Arabia. But another point, one last point on that question, like she just said, dealing with, I'm gonna try to remember it, but dealing with the point of the sister having more money than a man and cutting him down with her tongue. Sisters, let me just tell you like this. Throwing it in a man's face that you make more money than him in that relationship, for that man and for his spirit and for his soul, that is the equivalent of a man punching a woman right in the face physically. And that's how sisters fight sometimes. Some of y'all sisters can physically fight. Let's keep it real. I saw it for myself, looking at some of the highlights of the National Training Seminar. But most women, y'all fight with y'all tongue. And when y'all come at us like that, that is essentially the equivalent of busting that brother right in his mouth and dragging him down the stairs. If you heard of a man doing that to a woman, you would think that man is the worst man in the world. So give that some thought. But definitely appreciate that question. That was a hardcore question.
The minister said, when you do that, you take his manhood, and when he can no longer be a man for you, then he's gonna go out and find somebody else that he can be a man for. Now, man, we have another question. Lord have mercy, y'all are going in today. I love it.
Oh, praise be to Allah.
Sister Mariella, she says, should a sister go into a courtship if the brother has child support back payments?
Read that one more time.
Yes.
I'm gonna get that one first.
Should a sister go into courtship if the brother has child support back payments?
Back payments. Now, in this dispensation,
Yeah.
in this day and time, when a brother is default or almost default on his child support, that means that a warrant can be put out for his arrest. So you're basically talking about a brother that's borderline fugitive. On the other hand, if he's striving to make those payments and he's not necessarily default yet, I don't think you should hold that against him. That's similar to him. The brother might be, struggling with his credit card bills or with student loans. Sisters are struggling with them. Sisters are going to college at higher rates than black men are. So, it is a debt, even though it's dealing with a child, which is much more important and has a deeper meaning than a college debt or credit card debt. It's really just a debt. And if the brother is handling it the best he can, but that's something that you got to put on the table with everything else, the whole picture. But I don't want you to see it as if, okay, if he's struggling with it, then that just means I cannot court him. But I want you to use some worst case scenarios, play some scenarios in your mind. Let's say y'all go ahead and get married and then you get pregnant. So now he has 6 child support roles to deal with, and now you got a baby on the way. And if he's struggling with that child support, and then now y'all have a baby on the way, then that can cause an issue. So look at the whole picture, but we want to stray away from absolutes and generalizations. Oh no, I can't court a brother. That brother might be the best brother you ever came across in your life. But you say, oh, he got child support issues. Now, if he's completely default, then that speaks for itself. This is a brother who is not taking care of the most important responsibility that a man can have, and that is his offspring. So if he in a situation where he like, well, yeah, I was paying the child support, but baby mama was tripping, so I ain't tripping on it no more. See, that's something you you got to look at that as a huge red flag. And I ain't talking about the national or the Nation of Islam. I'm talking about a red flag in the sense that this brother is derelict on one of his main duties. In fact, his main duty. So you should go deeper into it. If he is having child support issues, find out all the details. Find out how is he striving. Look up that word strive. Strive don't mean I'm trying. Those are two different. Strive means you're fighting vigorously. You're vigorously fighting to do a thing. Is he striving to pay his child support? Is he working out? Is he going to court? Is he trying to work out a payment plan? Is he staying out of default? But if the brother's default, you messing with a borderline fugitive from the law, he gonna get pulled over on y'all way to the wedding, and you gonna be doing conjugal visits for something like that, man. So just look into the whole picture. But if the brother is not paying at all and he's not even trying to or completely incapable of doing it, but he's looking to go into marriage, that's a real bad look and a huge flag, a huge, I'll say white flag. I ain't gonna say red flag. That's a huge white flag.
Yes, that's an excellent question. And like my husband said, look, if the brother is completely derelict in his duty to his offspring, his child, that's him, you don't even want to go there. But like you said, if he's in back pay, and we're taught in the Nation of Islam to keep the white man out of your business. You know what I'm saying? We don't even have to go through y'all courts and child support and all this, that, and the other, because now you have this devil setting up what you the parameter of what child support is. He may have hit a rough patch and may have fallen back, but like you said, he's a back pay, so he's striving to get current in my mind from what you're saying. But child support isn't just financial. Does this brother have a relationship with his children? Does this brother nurture his children? Does this brother spend time with his children, teach his children, rear his children, and raise them further than himself? But also, when it comes to that issue of child support, our sisters, and I've seen this from my own personal experiences, man, it can get real gully. Taking it back to the shot, it can get real gully. So you may want to just look at the whole entire picture to see, okay, what does the whole, situation look like with not just your child, but also the mother of your child or children, if there's more than one. And you have to analyze if that's something that you want to take that on, because you're going to marriage. I don't know about you all personally. When my father got remarried and his wife had children, that wasn't my sister. My mom and my family didn't treat them like no stepchild. That's your daughter. That's your son. That's my sister. So you want to look at that situation, and then this previous mother, they have a relationship. You're going to have a relationship. So you want to look at the whole entire situation, because it might have been some bitterness, it might have been something spiteful that she put him on child support. So it's a lot to look into.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And like she said, you want to be careful about bringing, the enemy's law into it. Because remember, as I said when we started off this program, about the three sciences that were taken from the African, the Asiatic god in the slave-making process. These sciences were taken from the science of mating, science of warfare, science of business. So now when you go to the court system, you're going back to essentially the same system that broke up the black family in the beginning. So you're going to the same source that made it tough in the beginning. And let me say this. These are fantastic questions. Don't get me wrong. These are beautiful questions, and we encourage them all. There's no such thing as a dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb comment. But what I'm hearing is a lot of generalizations and a lot of absolutes. Like, okay, should we court a person if he got this or if she's that? Keep something in mind when it comes to these generalizations. Let's keep the same energy when it comes to mending the relationship between the black man and the black woman, the same energy that we take into the workforce. The sister asked a question about her making money. So let's bring the corporate world into this. If you go and apply for a job and this job makes the kind of money that you need, not just that you want, but you need, it's the kind of job that you want and that you need, and then you get an interview, and you're walking into the building for the interview, you might run into a couple of employees, current employees, that might try to tell you, "Ooh, girl," or "Well, man, brother, you don't want this job, man. They work you hard as hell. The boss is an a-hole and all this." How would you perceive that? You might take it into account, but deep down inside, you probably be thinking like, "Man, y'all just mad because y'all about to get fired and I'm about to get hired." You're gonna go straight up there, take that interview, and you're gonna settle on the best part of that job, which is the money. You're going to settle on the best part of that job. And one of the ugliest things, and I'm just going to call it what it is, one of the ugliest things that I see amongst our people is I see black men who have been working the same job for 20 years but have given up on marriage. I see black women who've been working for the same company for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, got a gold watch and everything, but then giving up on a couple of marriages, then getting, bitter about, courtship, bitter about relationships, but they go to the same job that they hate. Talk to a black person about their job. They wake up, some of y'all wake up Monday mornings, and man, some of y'all think about suicide before getting up and go to that, but y'all get up anyway. Y'all think about excuses to call out. "Man, I done killed both of my grandmas. My mama done died 4 times. How can I get off from going to work?" But then you just suck it up, you pray, and you just get up and you go to that job because you know you need that money. We got to keep that same energy when it comes to our relationships. That same energy when it comes to courtship. That brother and that sister will have flaws. We black in America, people. We black in America, bruh. We black in America. Yeah, that brother he gonna be ignorant in many, many ways. Yes, brother, she gonna be ignorant in many, many, many ways. But settle on that best part. And settle on the best part doesn't mean that you don't know about the poor part. We're taught in our lessons that the original man does not care about the poor part, meaning that he or she knows the poor part, but they're settling, they're cultivating and growing and building on that best part. And remember, the courtship is not a formality. It's a process. So go into that process, dive head first, find out all those flaws that they done picked up in this wilderness, lay it all on the table, but settle on the best part and ask yourself, is that best part enough to settle on? Sometimes the best part ain't big enough. So that's what the courtship is for, to settle on that best part. But we can't cut people off. I think a lot of us have cut good people out of our lives based on one little thing we didn't like about it. And that's not just relationships, that's friendships, brotherhood, sisterhood. That person could have been the key to your life. They could have opened up a door for you that you thought has been closed in your life all your life, and you thought would never be open, but you cut them off, or you ignored them, or you looked at them some kind of way based on one aspect of their poor part. Settle on the best part and don't cut people off or possibilities off just on 1 or 2 flaws, because we all flawed. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we had two more questions that arise. Sister Pamela K. Muhammad, she says, if you are courting long distance, come back on the screen. If you are courting long distance and the brother doesn't ask many questions but wants to marry you, is that a red flag? Also, doesn't communicate that often either due to his work schedule. Oh yes, sis, I think you already answered your question.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely a red flag, because as we're taught, the courtship process is us displaying evidence to each other, getting to know each other mentally and spiritually and economically and all these things. That's so much more thorough and takes so much longer time than if we were just getting to know each other physically. So you're going to have a lot. He should be asking you a lot of questions to make sure that he's getting a good understanding of you. And if he's not, that definitely is a red flag. And when you want to marry me, huh? How? And if he's not communicating often, and see, this is where it comes that we need to know ourselves. If you have a need to be in good communication, you can't just be, every once in a week, talking to somebody, but you need more communication. You need more, dialogue with this individual. You're the type of person that, I need more intimacy than that. and that individual is not providing you with that need, then you already know that that's a red flag for you.
Yes, ma'am. I completely concur. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to go back to those three sciences: science of warfare, science of business, science of mating. One thing in the science of business, those of you who are in any type of sales or work for yourself and you have clientele, I think you can definitely bear witness on this. When you're dealing with a prospective client and they just ready to sign on a dotted line, they just ready to pay out, and they don't know what, they're not even 100% sure of what you can do for them. They're not asking any questions. It's probably something shady going on with that, or there's a high likelihood that they're going to be disappointed in the service because that means they're coming in the door expecting something that's just not what they're going to get. But they didn't do the due diligence of finding out what that service is or what that product is, and that's always a bad thing. So even from a business perspective, if you got somebody who's just throwing money at you and they're not clear on what it is they're getting in return, you should pump the brakes a little bit and ask them and say, wait a minute, why aren't you asking any questions? Are you even sure what's going to happen from this point on? Same thing with relationships. If the brother or sister is just like, yeah, okay, all right, so when we get married, man, get up and leave. Just don't pay the bill or nothing, sister. Just brother, just get up and leave. Don't even. That's not a situation you want to deal with, because this is such a serious process. Marriage is serious. It's a matter of national security, like the minister said. You know, courtship is serious. And if they're not asking questions, man, that's a huge red flag. Maybe they just don't know what courtship is. Let's not, you know, like I just said, settle on the worst part and think they up to something. Maybe they just don't know. Maybe they think this is just a date and they kind of a quiet person. Let them know, hey, brother or sister, you know you're supposed to be asking questions, right? You know this is just like a court proceeding, right? Just go ahead and remind them. And that's why we having a program like this, is so we can refresh people on what the courtship process is. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, man. We have another question, and I'm going to go ahead and answer this question straight from the manual. Our sister, Mariella, has been asking some wonderful questions tonight. We truly appreciate your engagement, beloved. She says, come on, get you back on the screen. How long should we court till the party agree to marry? 6 months, 1 month? And I have this for you straight from the manual, beloved. And I will read it to you in just a moment. Okay. How long should the engagement, oh, no, that's not the one. How long should the courtship last? 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or, that's exactly how the question is read. I'm not being extra. It says, I would not put a time limit on courtship. When we go to court, our aim is to find evidence that either convicts or frees the accused. Long trials are expensive. Long courtships are of no value. Courtship should be only as long as it takes the parties involved to find the necessary truths about each other that either say the courtship should be ended or that the two should become engaged to be married. And now, real quickly, if you just want to take a little bit further, how long should the engagement last? Very quickly, it says the engagement should be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but no more than 6 months. It's not desirable. Straight from the courtship manual.
Did you read the question again?
Yes, the question was, how long should we court till the party agreed to marry?
Yeah, well, she pretty much hit that up perfectly. And like the minister said, he gave you a parameter. You know, he said that, you know, on one hand, it shouldn't be no long process, and on the second hand, it can't be a situation where it's instant, like the sister asked before. But, you know, get that court proceeding done. Get it done. Don't cut no corners. Don't cut any corners, sister and brother. This is important. And you don't want to be a month, 2 months, 3 months into the marriage, and you like, damn, I didn't even ask him about that. I didn't even ask him if he had a crazy baby mama. I didn't ask him if he was, you know, having issues with his child support situation. I didn't even ask her, you know, if she gave up 4 babies for adoption. You know, I didn't even ask her what, you know, You don't want that stuff to creep up after the fact. So get it all out, but focus on it. Don't get intoxicated. Don't get intoxicated on physical attraction. Don't get intoxicated on just the idea of getting married. I know it's easy to get intoxicated with, that idea. Sister start thinking, see, 1 week of courtship, she thinking about, bridesmaids, dresses, what color, where they gonna have the wedding at, you know what I mean? Brother thinking about how cool they gonna look on Savior's Day, holding hands, Don't get intoxicated with all of that. Focus on the brass tacks, get straight to the point. And if you're doing that, you don't have to worry about it being too long or being too short. Now, I know there's other things that may come in there that the brother may not be financially ready for the actual marriage, and y'all might take a little bit of time on that. It may be a hurdle that one of y'all are trying to get over, like finishing school or something. I've seen situations like that, but you don't want to have a long-term courtship, and then it looks bad. And I'm gonna tell you something else, and this is another reason why the minister said that about the length of courtship. Remember, I just talked about intoxication. If you really feeling this person, sister, if you feeling that brother, and brother, if you feeling that sister, and y'all been courting 4, 5, 6 months, and especially if y'all in close proximity, y'all in the same city, or y'all just find yourselves in the same city, Savior's Day, Holy Day, whatever the case may be, and y'all really like each other, it's gonna become a lot harder to maintain the restrictive law. It's gonna be a lot harder to maintain your sobriety, so to speak, because you just gonna think, and plus you start using deceptive intelligence. Hey, I'm gonna marry her anyway. We get married anyway. It ain't no big deal, And I've seen good people make that mistake. Great believers, strong believers make that mistake, and it's thrown a lot of things off. So that's the reason. All of this is a protection for you, sister. It's a protection for you, brother. It ain't no spooky, stringent laws and rules just for the sake of having laws and rules. It's a protection for you. All restriction, all righteous restriction is a protection. It ain't something just to try to take the fun out. It's something that's for your own good. So the length that the minister just laid out and what my wife just read is right on point. Now, we absolutely intended for this to be a shorter program today, but this is the best. If we're gonna have longer programs, this is the way I want it to be. From questions from the audience, I want to thank everybody that's been chiming in. But we're gonna check for questions and comments one last time, and we're gonna go ahead and close it out, because also your boy is hungry. I'm hungry, not hungry. I was hungry an hour ago. Now I'm hungry, but we're gonna check for questions and comments, and then we're gonna close it out. But I also want to remind y'all to go ahead and make sure you download Mosque number 27 app. This is a bevy of information and resource, not just for Mosque 27, whether you're in LA or not. This is a bevy of information for the Nation of Islam, inside information on different events, different things going on. Also, black businesses that you can contribute to and support. Make sure you download that as well. And also, NationTownTV. We got NationTownStore.com. Delivery to your doorstep. Hit us up. Definitely hit us up. On that, check out what we have. We have merchandise as well as, food, the world famous bean pot, personal care products, all black owned, black created, and black distributed. So make sure you hit us up on that. But with that said, dear sister, do we have another question?
Oh man, we're gonna close out one last beautiful comment. Again, I'm so grateful for you all, and I pray that Allah has been guiding our words to touch your spirit in a manner that can help you. We have Sister Alita Champagne. She says, "Is holding hands prohibited in courtship? Is giving roses prohibited? Is it encouraged to meet each other's family?" As far as holding hands, we don't want to physical contact, things that would, things that could ignite the normal passion that's between a man and a woman and lead to other things. I would stay away from. because you do not want to tempt yourself.
Right.
You know, and you don't, you know, little bitty things can lead to big things. Okay, so I mean, and it's such a little thing that you should be able to go without that. You know, if you can't go without holding his hand, then you really need to, or he can't go without holding your hand. You know, whomever, then you need to check yourself and do a little self-analysis and say, okay, what is my true motivation? Why do I want to hold a hand? Do I want to give it a little squeeze, give it a little rub to try and lead to something else? So I would definitely lean against holding hands. Is giving roses prohibited? You know, we talked about gifts, and I'm on the fence. I'm on the line. I'm not sure, because you know, roses, that's like something you go to the door. Here's a rose, you know. I'm not sure if that would be considered a gift, because it's something that would die shortly thereafter. It's kind of, you know, like it's a gift. Okay, my husband says it's a gift. I'm gonna roll with him. It's a gift. So I would say no.
I say this, you know, you can prod the bull if you want to. You can prod the bull if you want to, but we all know what these things entail. These little gifts, you know, roses and all that, and also, especially to my sisters. You know, I got 3 older sisters, so I'm very protective over the women. You know, sisters, pay attention to the brother when he reach for your hand or give you a rose in the midst of tough questions in the courtship. Brothers too, because like I said, it ain't supposed to be a contentious court type proceeding where you grilling him. You ain't Johnny Cochran in your brother. You know, and brother, you ain't going Johnny Cochran on the sister. You ain't doing it to that point. But these are tough issues and very important issues. And when you ask him, brother, what's going on with your child support situation? And he reach across the table and grab your hand and say, baby, you so beautiful. That's a red flag right there. That's something to be aware of. You know, if it's a situation where y'all are not agreeing on a certain aspect of the courtship, and all of a sudden he come with a bed of roses the next day, don't see, you know, those are little tactics right there. So, you know, the whole holding hand thing, you know, hold hands mentally, hold hands spiritually, put your minds together spiritually and mentally, and get that. Once you get that connection, and then you mess around and get married. I ain't gonna say mess around, but you get married. Then you can complement that with the physical interaction. But hold hands mentally. I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo, but it ain't nothing like connecting your mind with a black woman, brothers and sisters. I'm assuming it's the same for y'all, to connect your mind with a brother especially in this world where everything is made to be so physical, so carnal, so basic. And then you got somebody that you can, because I'm going to tell you, like I broke down the math of it yesterday, 23 hours, 56 minutes, 46 seconds in a day. You ain't going to be holding hands for 23 hours, 56 minutes, 46 seconds. The majority of the day is going to be contingent on how much are you holding hands mentally. If y'all on different pages, if y'all on different sides of the room, mentally and spiritually, you don't even want to physically hold their hand. You don't even want to see them. Y'all know how we get in our relationships. But we don't even want to see that other person when we mad at them. So get your minds together first. Bring your heads together first. And that's such a tough process. I don't want to say tough, but it's such a detailed and important process that you might even forget about the whole hand-holding thing. You know, and if a brother is pushing that envelope, or if a sister is pushing that envelope, and it also might, like I said, it's intoxication. It might change, you know, like you got these brothers who they super gangster when they get drunk. Brother hit that Hennessy and now he think he can whoop everybody. When you hold that brother's hands and you ask him a question, an important question, he might give you a different answer. He might give you just the smoothest answer that just sounds so good to your ears because you done turned him up with the hand holding and the physical contact. Or, you know, the brother might say something that, sister, you really don't like, but he hit you with your favorite roses. he hit you with the white roses, with the purple roses, with the whatever they call, you know, and he hit you and they smell so good. So he might say, hey, you know, sister, you know, I believe in polygamy, and you just like, yeah, okay, and you smelling the roses, and you ain't even catch that, and he thinking like, yeah, I got her. I let her know. I told her. She can't say I didn't tell her, but you intoxicated by some kind of gift or some kind of physical contact. So, you know, be careful with that. You know, prod the bull, play around with it if you want to, but you know, you don't want to look back on it and feel like that you didn't cover that the way that you should, or you missed the base because you was intoxicated with something else. Because it's not dating. That's why this is about courtship. It's not boyfriend, girlfriend, go together. It's just not that. You got your whole life. If it works out and this is the person you want to marry, you got your whole life for all that. You can do all the hand holding in the world after the fact. We just talking about 3 to 6 months, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, of just actual facts and getting to the brass tacks. And then you can spend the rest of your life doing all that other stuff. You know, and a lot of times, and I gotta come at my brothers a little bit. A lot of times the brothers who come with all that hand holding and gift giving in the courtship, or even in the world, in the so-called dating world, they don't do none of that once he actually gets you. So be careful with that. Sometimes that's a smoke screen. But with that said,
Oh, she had a third part to her question.
we have a third part to that.
Yeah, she asked about families. As
Oh,
well.
families.
Should the family be involved?
Family,
I'm going to give
absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to give it to
Absolutely.
you straight from the manual. It says courtship, a family affair. According to Mother Tanetta, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that courtship is a family affair. In the civilized world, a man who asks for courtship of a sister first seeks the blessings of the parents, particularly the father. In many of our cases, the father is not present. Thus, one should seek the blessings of the mother. Where the mother and father are present, it is best to meet with both and inform them of your intentions. Reference, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, webcast July 30th, 2006. Ooh, I love the way it comes with receipts.
And like I said, and we're going to close out with this. Everything in our courtship process, it's a science to it. Now let's think about it. Whether you're in the nation or not, when relationships go bad, what do both sides usually end up doing, especially the sister? Who do they end up running to? They run to the family. You know, when suddenly the marriage is broken up, now who has to bear that burden? Usually the family. Now grandma got to watch the children. Now, you know, daddy gotta help, you know, the daughter get back on her feet. Sometimes the brother got to go live with his mama because he was leaning on the sister financially. So the family usually has to deal with the burden of broken relationships. So I think it's only fair and scientific that you involve the family in it. Now don't let the family pull all the strings. That's not what we're saying. Just like in the nation, a lieutenant can't say, no, brother, you can't court that sister unless he's not in good standing or she's not in good standing. Captain can't say, no, you can't do that. I don't think that's a good fit for you. You can't do that. But they're the ones that got to deal with it. Just like in our mosque structure, you know, if a couple breaks up or there's some drama in there, now the captain got to deal with it. Now the student minister got to counsel and deal with that. And if the brother really messed up or the sister really messed up and broke the restrictive law or put their hands on the other one, now the mosque really got to get involved. So the two parties that have to get involved when things go bad, it's only fair that they have some type of involvement in the coming together of those two. It's only fair because them the ones you're going to run to when it go bad. So with that said, dear brothers and sisters, man, y'all went in with the questions.
Beautiful, beautiful engagement.
This is beautiful. This is that study group atmosphere that we looking for. This ain't no, you know, what's that show, TED Talks, where somebody's on the stage as the expert. Ain't no experts in this, man. Ain't no unless the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you know, somehow get back on Facebook and drop a comment and a question. Unless he do that, or the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad chime in and log in from the wheel. Other than that, it ain't no experts. This is just a group effort, and I thank y'all for that effort. And a beautiful question. All these questions was on point. These are the questions, the kind of questions that we need. Inshallah, we're going to come back at you with this particular segment, part 4 on Sunday. One last thing I want to point out. We were blessed to, well, let me give a little bit of backstory. Last episode, we touched on some of the social media outlets that we have in the Nation of Islam to help with courtship. There are a couple of really great groups on Facebook. One in particular is New Beginnings CPR, which deals with courtship in the Nation of Islam and proper relationships, and they're legitimate. It's a very legitimate group. You gotta establish yourself as an active member of the Nation of Islam to even join the group. But it's a lot of good information that's transferred on there. But we mentioned that in the last episode, and our brother Seven Truth Allah, he hit me up and asked me to be on one of the best shows that deals with courtship. It's actually a call-in show, a radio show, online radio show, and I remember listening to it back when I was single. I heard brothers like Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan. I heard the student minister in College Park, 15B, just a bevy of believers chiming in on courtship in the nation, and that expedited and hit a fast forward on my understanding of courtship in the Nation of Islam. And with all that said, your brother and your sister were invited this Saturday to be a part of it, as you see on your screen. New Beginning CPR Live this Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern on the West Coast. That would be 4 o'clock. And the title of it is similar to what we're dealing with now: Courtship and Marriage Under Attack. The #1 threat, so says the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to our national security, featuring myself and my queen, Sister Shauna Joy. You see the call-in number right there, 347-237-5271. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. West Coast Pacific time, and I think that's what 5 p.m. Central time.
Yes, sir.
Definitely go ahead and chime in, and like I said, it's an audio show. It's an online radio show, not video, but definitely chime in and hear that out. And check in on it every week, because like I said, this show, man. And I also got they also have the courtship manual available in their group, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
so you know, it's a lot of resources out there for us to get information about this science. I'm gonna say it again: this science of mating, this science of courtship. And that's what we're doing. We studying the science, but man, it really is a threat to our national security if we're going about this thing wrong. And that's what the topic of it is going to be. And I want to thank again Brother Seven Truth Allah for even having such a resource for the believers. We can't complain about things if we're not putting out solutions. And that's all we're trying to do with this online study group. And that's what Brother Seven Truth is doing with his Facebook group. So it's just about, you know, keeping this together. Because remember, like Sister Dr. Ava, another sister that's been on that show, she said it's a hierarchy to this nation thing. First, it starts with Allah. Second, family. And then third, nation. And you can't have one without the previous. You can't have a productive family without some type of involvement of God. You know, plain and simple. You can't have a nation without family. So all those things correlate. And with that said, dear brothers and sisters, again, I want to thank you again for the beautiful questions. Keep that energy this Sunday and the next time we see you. I love it. It keeps everything fresh, keeps everything new, and it makes it more of a learning experience for everyone else that views and chimes in. So I want to thank you again, and I'm going to leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message.
Bye.